coming back. Sorry for the interruption. But some of you about to go through a level of crucifixion. So what did this man have to do? He had to get ready to go for this training exercise. And he didn't back out of it. Some of y'all be trying to back out. Some of your spouses was trying to back out of going through certain training exercises because they didn't want to take responsibility for the fact of the matter that they had to go through that training exercise at the most inconvenient time for them. When does God ever test us in a time that's convenient for us? Number one, testing period is inconvenient. Okay? If you didn't notice, hold your hands up if you've ever been through a test and it was never... God didn't come in and say, hey, I just wanted to come over and check to see if this is a good time to test you in whatever capacity. Is Thursday at 2 o'clock a good time to test you unexpectedly and suddenly? Pay attention, somebody might be getting ready to get tested. Lord, I hope it ain't me. Jesus, please. Does he ever ask? Does he ever say, hey, this is convenient. Would this be a good time for you? Some of your tests, I'm going to be honest with you. Calm down before you you start to freak out. Some of your tests is just simply, did you do the instruction? For me, I believe my test was just to do the instruction that he asked me to do. But in some of y'all cases, the instruction of the fact of the matter is you being tested to that level and capacity where you, like, I was supposed to write something one day. I had 24 hours to do something, and I had to do it within that time span. I had to complete 2 projects one day, and I knew I did what I was supposed to do because the next morning, the Lord woke me up to a numeric value that represented I love you, and I knew that he was showing me you passed the test. I was like, oh, okay. So sometimes the test isn't a bad test, but sometimes, yeah, it try you. Sometimes it's them tests that try you, okay? That you feel like you're about to go into Jesus crucifixion and you're about to be crucified to the cross, to the wall. It's like, oh, God, did it have to be like that? Did it have to be like that? I was listening to Sunray the other day and she was talking about the betrayal. That sometimes you have to go through a level of betrayal just before you see the manifestation of the thing in which you were looking for to come manifest. That's a what does she call it? It is not graduation. It's like gratification or something like that. But it is a graduation, right? Okay. So what ended up happening is they were in the vehicle the next morning and they were preparing to go in, and the guy who was sick, he was coughing in, and it's like, are you okay? He was like, yeah, I'm gonna be all right. And they were looking at him like, I don't know. I do not know. So they get out the vehicle and there are 3 individuals standing on an upper deck while they're standing there, and they send out these guys, right, that's supposed to check them. The first thing that they tell them to do, strip. Let me tell you this. One of your first tests is going to be of your identity. I was listening to Heart of Ruth the other day. An old video popped up. Was that an old video? Yeah, it was an old video. And she was talking about, be careful in this season. You're being prepared to be promoted. And in that promotion, your test is going to be, you're going to deal with a lot of mental warfare against your identity. Okay? They had to strip down to their underwear and put on a completely different set of garments, meaning they were being stripped of their clothing. Okay? God will tell you who you are. Okay? God will let you know exactly who you are. The second God tells you who you are, from that point forward, the enemy's gonna come for you, because he wants to strip you of your identity of who you are. You're not that. You can't talk about that. You can't do that. Why can't you do that? Because you're not walking in that. God's telling you you're supposed to be talking about kingdom marriage. You're like, I ain't got no husband nowhere around me. What you mean? I'm supposed to be talking about kingdom marriage. I don't even know if this man is in love with me like that. And then he sent about 50,000 confirmations and say, oh, yes, he is. But you're like, but I don't see that. He ain't here. He ain't say that to me. You saying that. Where he at? And God's like, get on your post. Get on your post. Get on your post. And then the enemy come in and say, what you mean? You can't talk about kingdom marriage. You can't even talk. You ain't even married. How you gonna talk about marriage? You can't even talk about marriage because you ain't even married. You ain't never been married. Some people is married and they ain't qualified to talk about marriage. Some of them were married, been married, came out of marriage, and they still ain't qualified to talk about marriage because you didn't learn nothing in that experience. A pastor said it like this. Some people are talking from the understanding of marriage, not from experience, but from factual, scientific knowledge, so on and so. It's not the experience. But I need to give you a little something on that. Some of y'all was treating y'all relationship that was not a marriage like a marriage. So you were doing the activities that you should have been doing in a marriage, and you were treating it like a marriage. You just didn't have a ring. You were learning certain lessons. And here's something I learned, and I've seen this, I've noticed this. Some people, and this is the truth, God will allow you to go through a counterfeit relationship. You may not have been married to the person, but this person is a counterfeit of the person that you actually supposed to marry. And you treated that relationship like a marriage. You did. You learned the lessons you needed to learn in that relationship like a marriage. It prepared you for the one that you actually were supposed to marry. But it just wasn't that person. But it gave you the skill sets that you can still understand the premise of the importance of certain things that would be important in a marriage. You just weren't married. No, you did not have the legal document. No, you did not have to deal with health regimen, paperwork, and contractual agreements. And no, you didn't. No, you didn't go through that. Blessed be to God, you didn't have to. Because guess what? You was able to make those mistakes in a relationship where you didn't have to deal with the cost. The only thing you lost was time. Some of you may have lost some mental capacity during that period of time, because remember, the enemy comes up against your mind. Some of y'all went through shameful experiences in those relationships, but they taught you something. What God wants you to do, I need you to hear me and hear me clearly. God wants you to unpack that stuff and go through that stuff. Understand what you did wrong. It's like when you took a test. Come on now. It's like you took an exam, but you got a lot of the answers wrong. I'm going to need you to go back. Take the exam that you got all the answers wrong on. Relook at those questions. Relook at those experiences. Go back in. Because that experience did cost you something. But I need you to go back into that. Even if you sit with and consecrate. Sabbath Saturday is coming up. Your next Sabbath Saturday, go right ahead. Sit in the presence of the Lord and write down the things that you know you did wrong in your relationship with that person. Sit with it. You know? But as you sit with that thing, write it out. What did you do wrong? What did they do wrong? Understanding those things. Dissect it. Take it into the Word. Look at the scriptural stuff. Don't know? Ask ChatGPT where is it at? What should I be focusing on? This is what I've come to the realization I did wrong in my relationship. What should I be focusing on in the Bible in order? What scriptures line up with this? You know, it's just a suggestion. Because you took the test already. The relationship that you was in before was, what you're trying to do is take that information, learn from that. So that when you go into this kingdom marriage that you're begging God for, you coming in correct. You see what I'm saying? But see, in you taking that time, coming back to my point, in you making that point to take that time, the enemy wants to strip you of that. Maybe the next thing he wants to strip you of in stripping you of that identity is he want to come up against that manifestation, right? Maybe God's telling you, I need you to be this is your purpose. You sat down, you wrote down the things that were the importance of what your purpose is. These are the characteristics. This is my field of favor. This is what I talk about all the time. These are the things that line up with these things in my life. And I recognize that my zone of genius, pay attention, my zone of genius is surrounding this stuff. Maybe I can put this together in a unique way, right? And when you discover that, understand the enemy is going to be like, you can't do that. What you mean you going to do that? You can't do that. You can't make a business out of that. You ain't even qualified for that. Understand, some of your hardest struggles is going to be in the very areas God want to bless you in. God want to bless me in all parts of my life. I have struggled in every area. Right? Because the enemy wants to strip you. So, what happened next? They went inside. They were thrown into this room together. Let's see. They were thrown into this room together, and as they were thrown into the room together, this is not the right note, hold on. So as they were put into this room together, they were attempting to strip them of their identities. They were all put into a holding cell. Some of you are in a season right now where you're in isolation and you're sitting there trying to figure out, God, why the heck am I still in this season? God's got you in a holding pattern. Now, in some cases, you need to pray about this to find out whether God's putting you in that holding season, you putting you in that holding season, or the enemy's putting you into that holding season. Oh, wait, what? Yeah. Because sometimes it's you that's putting you in that holding pattern. Remember what I said? God had been preparing me for about 2 months, preparing me to come back to this ministry. Maybe I was in my own holding season because I was supposed to come back here 2 months ago when he first gave me the instruction and I set up to come back here, but I didn't do it. What's the last instruction God gave you that you didn't do? Are you holding you in a holding season? Ouch. Anyway, is the enemy got you in a holding pattern? You know how you know if the enemy got you in a holding pattern? You pray about it, and when you pray about it, God give you 15 confirmations, and even your pastor turn around and say, yeah, the enemy was trying to hold you up, but you are going to get to your manifestation. Okay. The devil had you in that holding pattern. But then there's some cases God says, okay, he may have you in this holding pattern, but I'm going to use this holding pattern to what? Test you. What? Yeah. I'm going to test you in this. So, he allows the enemy, coming back to Job. I don't remember whether it's the first chapter or the second chapter of Job, where Satan comes through and God says, go test my servant Job. So, here's a strategy. You ready? Get your pens out. Get your pens out. Get your pens out. Here's a new strategy. What the guy did was, the boss, who was part of their unit, he figured out something. When I tell you this, this sound gonna sound so good to you. It was so good to me when I saw it. He said, I need you to there's a camera in here. So they standing there, and they knew the camera was there. He stands with his back to the camera. He says, I need you to go over to where the camera is. I need you to start singing. So the boss stands back to back with the guy that's singing, and he's actually giving the rest of the guys instructions. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay. Do you see it? Did you see it? Okay, I need you to open your Bible to 2 Chronicles 20. When Jehoshaphat asked for instructions from the Lord, what did he do? The Lord told him, tell the worshipers to go out before us. I need you to get into your place of worship. I need you to get in your place of praise. Certain attacks gonna come up against you, and I'm gonna need you to go praise through it. I'm gonna need you to go pray through it. I'm gonna need you to go stand in the midst of it. I'm gonna need you to go worship. I know when that attack hits you, you gonna be sitting up there like, I'm not in the mood to go sing. I'm in the mood to go kill this situation. And God's like, I need you to sing to it. Sing, then kill it. There's been many a time the enemy has frustrated me, and I sat there and I had to start singing. Sitting there rocking. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. I need some help. Turn your worship music on, praise through it. I know, it seems, but I'm angry. I don't want to praise through it. Praise through it. Your enemy is confused. The people watching on the monitor couldn't figure out what they were doing. The guy standing there singing, like, what you singing for? Meanwhile, they getting instructions. When you praise through it, I lie to you not, it was a couple weeks ago. I was literally sitting here frustrated or all get out. And I sat here and I started to sing in tongues. And you know what? The Lord said, open this note. I opened this note. And I was like, oh. And I started to pray what was in there. And then God turned around and brought me somebody to look at on YouTube. And I was like, oh, that's the answer. Thank you. Your answers will come when you follow the instruction. What did the boss do? He said, this is your instructions. Now, when he gave them the instructions, he gave them hand gestures and signals. It's like, when you see me do this, when you see this signal, when you see that signal, when you see that, God will give you an instruction coming back to. Some of y'all supposed to be silent. He didn't sit up there and say, this is your instruction, this is your instruction, this is your instruction. Some of you, God was being silent with you. Some of you, God's going to be... Have you ever took a test and the teacher was telling you the answers? Even when they give you the answers and say, I'm going to give you an open book test, is the teacher sitting there telling you the answers? No, he's silent. No, she's silent. Uh-uh. If this is a testing season for you and God chooses to test you through October, he's going to be silent. You're not going to be able to see which way to go. But you got to trust in what he's already taught you. When he shows you a signal, when he shows you a sign, when he shows you whatever it is, the way that he has to, what you need to do in this season is pray for the way in which God's going to speak to you. Because God may not speak to you in a way that you're used to. The guy had to use code words. He was using code hand gestures and signals. God may be giving you signs. Remember, God's a God of signs, miracles, and wonders. He might be giving you signs and wonders. He might speak to you for something that's so simple. Maybe it's a TV program that may pass you. Maybe it's a song that comes on the radio. Maybe you might pass a vehicle. I remember God did a confirmation to me like that. I was walking past a vehicle one time and I just heard one sentence. Ooh. Since we're here, I'm gonna give you this one. I'm gonna give you this. I was walking one day. I hadn't been out the house in a while. And this particular day I needed to go back to the grocery store because I had gone to the grocery store and bought the wrong thing. Had to go back, but I believe that was on purpose, because when I had to go back to the grocery store to go get or take this thing back, God showed me a tactic of the enemy that was coming up against me while I was walking back. And at the intersection, catch this, who needs to hear it about your kingdom marriage. The Lord's been showing me this about intersections for the past few days. Some of y'all are at an intersection with you and your spouse, right? Literally, God bless me so much. I was at the intersection crossing the street. I got delayed in the ability to cross the street, had to wait a couple of extra minutes. But God orchestrated it that way because he wanted me to hear something. As I was walking across the street, a guy was approaching me and he was passing me. I heard him on the phone saying, I'm supposed to be getting married. Let that bless your spirit. Had that happened any other way or any other, I wouldn't have heard that confirmation. Some of you, your spouse has been talking to people on the phone, getting things set up, getting things prepared. Because why? Some of y'all get ready to get married. Oh, you thought I was going to stop talking about kingdom marriage? No. It's closer than you think. It's closer than you think. God has had me pass people like that before. The enemy don't want these marriages to happen. Some of the heaviest warfare against marriages happens in October. It's like, dude. But see, God is about to drown Pharaoh. Because he had me that day when I was walking to go do what I was doing that day. He had me talking to him about Pharaoh and Pharaoh's army. When the enemy come after you that one last time, October's that one last time, baby. If he come after you that one last time, best believe he about to drown that sucker. God is like, do it if you want to. Do it if you want to. I remember old Michael Jackson video. Come on, y'all, that's familiar with Smooth Criminal. The Moonwalker movie. What did he say? Do it and you dead. That's what God said. Do it and you dead. Okay? So, in order to break them, what he does is he puts them, the leader of the battalion that was coming up against them, that set them up in this particular test, he sits them in a location with a whole bunch of noise. It's like they're about to go to sleep. It's time for them to go to bed. And they ready to go to bed. And what happens is he turns a radio on really loud with a crying baby and all kinds of noise. Just before I came back, actually the day that I was coming back to start doing this content again, when I tell you the level of distractions, I had distractions coming and it wasn't anything that was particularly being said to me or done to me or anything like to that capacity. It was a situation more so of the fact that it was warfare, right? And it was all this stuff, noise, this, that, distraction, this, that. I'm like, this should not be taking me 5 hours to do this. I should be able to drag, drop. I should be done with this in an hour. It took me 5 hours to get something done. I'm like, why is this happening? Distractions. When the enemy can't stop you, he starts to distract you. And then the next thing that the guy did, while they were sitting up there listening to all, you got the one guy that's sitting there, he already sick, so he shouldn't be getting wet or anything like this. They spray them down wet, soaking with water. Strip them down to their underwear. Soaking wet. So you know the guy that's sick. Number one, the one that's sick has the ability to make everybody else sick because now he's wet. Some of you, the enemy will put you in certain situations in order to contaminate you. There was a situation recently for me. I had been in intense prayer with the Lord about some stuff. And I was praying. I'm like, I'm shutting these doors. I'm canceling this thing. And what the enemy did was he was like, okay, you shut the door. You cancel this. But you forget you live with somebody else. And they aren't going to let those doors stay shut. So everywhere that I had shut doors, cleaned up things, it was like the enemy said, all right, I'm going to dump the attack on that person. I can't control another individual. You can't control other individuals unless they possibly your children. But even yet, it's still certain ways that the enemy will attack them. This is why kingdom marriage ain't for everybody, because you got to cover them babies, because the enemy going to be coming for them kids in order to distract you from your purpose. This is why I was like, God, why did you ever let me live by myself? And it was like, it ain't never happened. Because I'm like, all this distraction. That's what it is. The enemy want to bring forth when I tell you, he had me in her doing a whole bunch of stuff because he wanted to, and I keep trying to shut the spiritual doors, because see, what the enemy will do, if you're wise enough to shut the spiritual doors, what he'll do is he'll keep spinning the block on those doors. It's like, okay, she shut that door, let me open this door. Let me shut that door, she open this door, shut that. And you sitting up there, you feel like you got 8 arms and 3 legs trying to hold doors and things shut, because the enemy is like, and this is the way that the enemy try to tire you out, because if you're wise enough to be spiritually attuned like that, he gonna come at you like that. And then it's back to Galatians 9:6-9. You shall reap a harvest if you faint not, because that kind of activity will make you want to faint. For real. So where we at? So after they was hosed down and stripped again, because the enemy likes to continue to attempt to strip you of identity in layers. First they stripped them, changed their clothes, stripped them again. The enemy keeps trying to strip you of your identity. If he figures out that, oh, that didn't work, let me try to strip him again. Let me find a new tactic. He doesn't do anything new. He just tries to find a new way to come in. What did I just tell you? Galatians. Not Galatians. Yeah, I talked about Galatians, but Genesis 9:22. Perverse ways. If you go and you study Numbers 22, 23, 24. This was when they tried, Balaam and Balak kept going back and forth trying to get this one guy to come out of alignment in agreement with the enemy's tactic. The enemy's agenda never changes. He understands that there are 3 ways. This is the same sequence of testing that Jesus went through. What was the 3? Lust of the eye, lust of the flesh, pride of life. Even go back and look at the story of Samson. In those last couple of moments, just before Samson was dragged down to be put between the two pillars, it was the flesh that messed him up. They poked out his eyes, and his pride, his hair, was cut off. Agenda don't never change. The way that the enemy approaches trying to get you to come into agreement with that agenda, that's what changes. Pay attention. He's going to keep trying to strip you. If you figure it out the next season, he's going to come after you again. Just go through another cycle. Go through another. Sometimes we be frustrated because we be like, yo, God, what? I don't want to go through another cycle. We be mad. Not at God, not so much. We be mad because he's like, I am so pissed off that this enemy, I don't want to see him again. When do I get 2 Samuel 7 and 12? I look for my enemies and they just gone. Gone. You tell me I gotta go through another cycle? Dealing with spiritual stalkers? I don't want to deal with another set of spiritual stalkers. And what are the spiritual stalkers? Trying to get you to come into agreement. I see it like a cartoon. It's like the enemy is running up trying to do everything to get you to slip and fall. Everything. Slip over here. Slide over there. Do it. I'm going to strip your identity. I'm going to strip you over here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to wear you out. You going to keep trying to keep these doors shut. And I'm going to wear you out because you trying to keep the door shut. Okay, you shut the door. Now I'm going to cause the people around you to start acting up. You done shut all the doors. So now I got to get them to open them because you won't let me in. Yes. You think he won't do that? He do that all the time. Bruh. What you think this is? So, meanwhile, there's this leader who is running the activation of the test. But see, this woman, let me tell you, this chick Jezebel incarnated. Because she ain't operating right. She was looking at the two men and observing their tactics, trying to figure out how she could test them. But she pulled up a test. It was a form of trial that was used in Russia. And they were like, hold up. Y'all can't do that. That's Russian torture tactics with waterboarding and all that kind of stuff. We don't do those tactics in here. But you could see in her eyes, she was like thirsty to destroy these men. It's like, I don't care what you got to do. Destroy them. This is what that Jezebelic spirit operating against. If you're a child of God, and it wants to destroy you. It wants to break you. It wants to prove it's in more power than you are. So she was salivating. I'm going to test them in a different way. Some of these tests, I was listening to my pastor a couple weeks back, and she was talking about sometimes what the enemy will do. He cannot break God's rules, but he will bend them just enough illegally to come up against you. You're a sower, you're a tither. You're not seeing a manifestation off the tithe that you put in. You see, and if you are, it's like so minimal. And you sit there and be like, God, what's up? My tithe usually works during this season, and nothing's happening. Why? Because the enemy is using witchcraft to come up against your finances. God's allowing that to test you in that season, but you sitting up there like, yo, bro, what? What is this? What is this? So it comes to the next factor. They get more concerned about the guy that's sick. Sometimes what the enemy will do, and this is a seasonal thing I recognize, during certain seasons, when it's more active for illness to be in the atmosphere, the enemy will bring up people or bring people around you to try to make you sick. Pay attention to that. I remember one season I was sitting in the Whole Foods, and this was my little corner. I usually used to sit there every time I came to Whole Foods, but the enemy knew that that was my pattern, to either sit in this area or upstairs. So what he would do, if I'm sitting in this little cove, and you know when sick people are around you and you sitting in an isolated cove, of course illness can come upon you like that. So I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I start hearing people I'm like, what in the? And it's like they all come in to sit around where I'm at. Specifically, all of the ones that are specifically coughing like they sick are right coming up on where I'm sitting at. I'm like, man, God, I know. God, I know. Remember, they got wet. And then the one that was sick. So now all of them, it's a potential that they could get sick. I want you to pay attention to this. Most illnesses set in your sleep. Have you ever been feeling fine one day and you went and dozed off, or you fell asleep, and when you woke up you started feeling sick? The enemy comes for you in your rest. I had a dream recently, and I'm going to explain it. In that dream, I lie to you not, I was laying in a bed, and it was somebody literally laying on top of me. It was a female. We were both fully dressed. It wasn't nothing freaky. And this woman was laying on top of me like dead weight, sitting on top of me. I rolled them off of me and went and reported them to somebody. And when I reported them to this person, the people in the room started talking, and they were like, this person's sick though. They got that thing. And I was like, wait, what? And I'm like, oh, the enemy wanted to oppress me with illness. You think he don't do that? I just told you he do. So I'm about to come back. Hold on.